I used to believe my marriage was built on trust, on loyalty, on love. But sometimes the person you share your bed with is the one holding the knife. When I found out what my wife had been doing behind my back, I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I planned. And what came next? Well, let's just say it destroyed 2 marriages and ended one man's entire life as he knew it. This isn't a story about rage. It's about precision, about control, about justice. If you've ever been lied to, if you've ever felt that cold sting of betrayal, hit that like button. Because today, you're about to hear one of the coldest, most calculated acts of revenge you'll ever come across. It started in the early 2000s. I was in my early 30s, 2 kids, a mortgage, and what I thought was a steady, happy marriage. My wife, Amy, worked part-time, so most days she was either at work or with our kids. And for a while, life was good, ordinary, predictable. But then, little things started to feel off. Our kids, just 4 and 6 at the time, started talking about spending a lot of time at Amy's parent house. Now, that wouldn't have been strange, except her parents lived nearly 90 minutes away. They mentioned it so casually. Mommy took us to Grandma's again today. At first, I brushed it off. Kids mix things up, right? But when it started happening 2 or 3 times a week, every day Amy wasn't working, something inside me began to twist. I asked her about it one night while we were cleaning up after dinner. I tried to sound casual. Hey, the kids said they were at your parents' again today. That's a lot of driving for a weekday. She froze for a second, then smiled too quickly. Oh, yeah, Mom needed help with some errands, she said, waving it off. But I knew her tells. She'd never been a good liar. Her tone would lift just a little too high, her hands fidgeting with anything nearby. So I started to watch, not like some obsessed, jealous husband, but with quiet, measured suspicion. I began tracking the mileage on her car. Each Monday, I'd note the number. Each Friday, check it again. And there it was, an extra 400 miles every single week. No logical explanation, no family emergency, just distance, lies. That's when I knew something was going on. Then came the moment that changed everything. One evening, I sat down at our family computer, back when AOL was still king, and I noticed a sticky note on the monitor. Amy's handwriting, AOL password. It was like the universe itself had handed me the truth. My hands were trembling as I typed it in. I could feel my heart in my throat. And then her inbox opened. Dozens of emails, and a few buried halfway down between shopping receipts and PDA updates. Emails from her old college friend. I clicked, and there it was, the confirmation. They were discussing how Amy had been seeing her ex-boyfriend from high school, Bob. The messages were explicit, laughing about the times they met, about how his wife had let herself go. It wasn't just cheating. It was mockery, cruelty. I remember staring at the screen, feeling my stomach twist like something inside me was dying. My hands were ice cold, but my mind crystal clear. I printed the emails, slid them into a manila folder, and from that moment on, I wasn't a husband anymore. I was a tactician. I called a friend of mine, a cop. He didn't mince words. You need evidence, hard evidence. Call Ron. Ron was a private investigator, ex-police, quiet, professional, and brutally efficient. I handed him the emails, the details, and a small retainer. 2 weeks later, he came back with a report that read like a screenplay from hell. Amy would drop our kids off at her parents'. Then, she'd meet Bob for lunch. After that, they'd drive to a cheap roadside motel, stay for a few hours, and then she'd pick up kids, pretending nothing happened. There were photos, dates, times, everything. I stared at those pictures for a long time, not in anger, but in silence, because anger clouds your judgment, and I needed to stay clear. I made 2 phone calls, the first to a divorce lawyer, the second back to Ron. I told him I wanted one more thing. Find out everything you can about Bob, and Ron delivered. Turns out, Bob wasn't just married, he had 3 kids. And more interestingly, he worked as a VP of sales for his father-in-law's company. That detail stuck with me, because when you destroy a man's secrets, you also destroy his safety nets. So I waited, I let Ron finish his work, and once everything was airtight, I gave the order on a quiet Tuesday morning. The kind of day that looks ordinary but changes everything. My wife was served divorce papers at her workplace. At the very same time, across town, Ron paid a visit to Bob's wife. He handed her a sealed envelope filled with everything: photos, emails, timestamps. I didn't need to see her reaction. I already knew. The fall, 10 to 12:30. Narrator, a week later, the storm hit. Amy came home that evening, her face pale, shaking. "How could you do this?" she hissed, voice breaking. But there was nothing left to say. The truth was out. As for Bob, his world imploded. His wife didn't just confront him. She cleaned him out, drained their joint account, packed up the kids, and vanished. And where father, Bob's boss, found out Bob was fired, then came the final blow. The house, because it wasn't theirs, it belonged to her parents. So Bob was out on the street, jobless, alone. From what I later learned through court records, things only got worse. There were fights, restraining orders, police reports, even a broken nose after an argument with his ex's brother. The man who thought he could sneak around and laugh about it was left with nothing. No job, no home, no family. And my wife, she got exactly what she asked for: a divorce. Years passed. The kids grew up. I kept things civil, only talked to her about what mattered. Them. Once they were old enough to live their own lives, I cut all ties. Do I hate her? No, hate is too heavy to carry. But I'll say this. Every time someone asks if I believe in karma, I think about that day, the day two liars built a house of lies, and I burn it down without lifting a finger. If you've ever been betrayed, remember this. Revenge doesn't always come from rage. Sometimes it's just the truth delivered at the right moment. If this story hit you in the gut, hit that like button, share it with someone who deserves a little justice in their life, and subscribe for more stories like this one, because sometimes karma just needs a little help.